Pokemon Go has been out for over 7 years, and in that time, a ton of incredible Pokemon have been released on accident, and few trainers were lucky enough to catch them while they could. Today, we look at the top 10 Pokemon that were released accidentally in the history of Pokemon Go. Starting with probably one of the craziest ones ever, Black and White Kyurem. In December of 2013, a Japanese trainer was completing their Go Battle League matches for the day when something impossible happened. When they encountered the reward Pokemon, it was a White Kyurem, a Pokemon that to this day has not been released in Pokemon Go. Then other people began to report their encounters with both Black and White Kyurem. News began to spread around the community, and people started to speculate whether this was intentional or not. Did Pokemon Go just surprise release 2 amazing new legendaries in the Go Battle League? Well, 5 days later, a tweet went out by Niantic support that devastated players. It read, "Trainers Black and White Kyurem appeared as a Go Battle League encounter reward due to a misconfiguration and will be removed. We will be reaching out to the trainers who were recently affected by this and provide in-game compensation as a token of our apology." Speaking of that, remember that one player who initially found the White Kyurem? Well, he ended up spending 475,000 Stardust, 248 candy, and 296 XL candy to max out his Kyurem to level 50. What did he get in return for compensation? 250 candy, 5 star pieces, 5 lucky eggs, and only 250,000 Stardust. And what could have been one of the most exciting new releases of the year, and one that would get tons of players going into the Go Battle League and playing, turned into nothing. Seattle Pokemon Go Fest 2022 was the first in-person Go Fest in the US since 2019, and it was super exciting. The spawns were amazing, the new shinies were exciting, and a lucky player caught a Pokemon there that wasn't supposed to be released yet. A special research was given to players at the event that would lead to an encounter with Skyform Shaman, and after one player completed their research, they were surprised to see that their Skyform Shaman encounter was replaced by a Xurkitree. This was huge because Xurkitree wasn't set to be released for at least until a month after this event in Japan specifically, and it would be nearly 2 months until this Ultra Beast went global in raids. So the luck of this person to get one that early is incredible. Even luckier is this seemed to be a one-time glitch. Nobody else reported catching a Xurkitree the entire day, and it wasn't announced by Niantic that there was a mistake. It just seems like one player got hit with a crazy glitch. And to this day, that Xurkitree in that person's account might be the rarest Ultra Beast in the history of the game. In May of 2018, the Tier 5 Legendary raids glitched. Latios and Latios were in the raids and people were outside hunting them, when randomly, people began to find Lugia raids, a legendary that was not scheduled to be spawning at that time. And for around 90 minutes, Lugia raids replaced the current Tier 5 boss. And some lucky people were able to find the shiny. After Niantic realized that this was happening, they quickly reverted the raids back to Latios and Latios, and left those extremely rare glitched shiny Lugia in players' accounts. The most common way Pokemon have been accidentally released in Pokemon Go has been through the Team Go Rocket feature. The reason is because certain shadow Pokemon that are available in Grunts but can't be shiny will be taken out of Grunts and be put into Team Leaders to be shiny. But sometimes new shadow Pokemon are unintentionally put back into the Grunts that can be shiny, which allows players to just get them for free, the shinies, from the Grunts without having to pay or grind for the leaders. And this happened 2 years ago with the release of Shadow Shiny Execute, where for a couple of hours, players were able to find Grunts that rewarded this Shadow Shiny Pokemon before it came to the leaders. It also happened more recently in January of 2024 with the release of Shadow Shiny Zubat. Except this Pokemon wasn't even available yet, and it hadn't been announced at all. A person just happened to randomly catch a Shadow Shiny version of it out of a Grunt. This was extremely lucky. It seemed as if Pokemon Go had accidentally turned on Shadow Shiny Zubat about a week before they announced it and set it live in the leaders. Well, the player was able to keep this Shadow Shiny and flex it on all their friends. Back in 2019, 2 regional Pokemon were released, Shellos. Many people know the story, but if you don't, one Shellos spawns on the Eastern Hemisphere and the other spawns on the Western. But when these Pokemon went live, they went global on accident. And players who were lucky enough to be online were able to catch both EC and West Sea Shellos, regardless of where in the world they were. West Sea Shellos, West Sea Shellos. And not only did this check off a Pokemon on people's regional hunting list, but it also created one of the rarest catches in the game, a Shellos with the wrong location tag. And what made this even more rare is that this was fixed like immediately after it happened. Probably the most iconic accidental release in Pokemon Go history is the release of the world's first legendary Pokemon. Legendary Pokemon were released at Pokemon Go Fest 2017 in Tier 5 raids. But did you know that the actual first one was released 1 year earlier? In August of 2016, a month after the game came out, players in Dayton, Ohio were surprised to find a legendary Articuno posted up in a local gym. Now, at the time, gyms were used to flex your more rare and cool Pokemon Pokemon on your local community, so finding a cool rare Pokemon in a gym was nothing out of the ordinary. But an Articuno? Surely this was a mistake. Well, these local players began to report online of this insane encounter, and their online posts began to gain traction. They also discovered the username of the trainer that owned this Pokemon, Kate Covey. With the username, people figured out her social media and began to flood her with questions and messages trying to figure out if this legendary was real, and if it was, how she got it. Her answer? She simply just asked. According to Kate, she emailed Niantic the day the game came out because she lost a Pokemon when the game crashed. And the crashes, I mean, they happen all the time. Like OG players, we remember. We remember this screen specifically. We were there. Well, after logging in the next day, she was surprised to find a 1,589 CP legendary Articuno waiting for her in her account. But the problem on the internet was nobody believed her. Everybody was either saying that she was straight up lying or the Articuno was hacked or fake. So in an attempt to clear her name and prove that this was real, she jumped on Twitch with a friend to show off the Pokemon. For hours, she was answering questions, restarting her phone, logging in on different devices, and showing off the Articuno, all in an attempt to prove it was real. Well, around a week later, a statement went out from Niantic that would prove everyone but Kate wrong. We recently noticed that a few legendary Pokemon got into a few accounts when they shouldn't have, a Niantic spokesperson said. To preserve the game's integrity and as a measure of fairness, we have rectified the situations and revoked the legendary Pokemon in the trainer's accounts. Apparently, Kate's Articuno wasn't the only legendary accidentally given out to the community at the time, but with this announcement, it was very obvious that Kate was telling the truth. Although, unfortunately for Kate, the iconic Articuno was pulled from her account when this announcement went out, while actually she was on the way to a local gym, most likely to put the Articuno there and flex it. And to compensate Kate for the trouble, Niantic sent an email saying, "We've added 10 lures and 10 lucky eggs to help you catch some on your own. You'll also keep your Pokedex intact. Please continue to enjoy the game, play safe, and exercise care when revealing your identity on social media for this or any other app." Basically just saying, like, you know, the internet swarmed you, so be careful to not let that happen again. It's not our fault. But it is honestly pretty cool that Niantic left Kate the ability to see the Articuno in her Pokedex to remember her winged friend. A much more low-key and unintentional release happened back in October of 2019, where players were surprised to find the Reggies spawning in the Tier 5 raids when they shouldn't have. And the shinies were available at the time, which lucky players in mainly Asia were able to get. Also at the exact same time, shiny Skarmory was released about a week before its initial release date in the wild for like an hour or two for players lucky enough to find it to catch. These are more examples of super duper rare Pokemon if you have them with the correct date tag. And for whatever reason, 2019 was the year of accidental releases, because during the biggest event of the year, GoFest 2019, another oopsie happened. This event has gone down as one of the best Go Fests to date, which was made even more exciting by the fact that an accidental shiny was available to catch for a super limited time. In a specific corner of the park, trainers were sprinting to hopefully find a shiny Abra, a shiny that wasn't supposed to be released that I sprinted for too. 2024 was a brand new year and kicked off by a brand new accidental shiny release. As part of the Taken Treasures event in January of 2024, Nimble was spawning in the wild, and to a ton of people's surprises, it was shiny. Screenshots of this unexpected golden bug flooded Twitter and players were hyped. But almost as fast as these encounters were being reported, they vanished, and claims of shiny Nimble dwindled to zero. Niantic must have realized that this Pokemon was accidentally turned on shiny, and then quietly disabled it on the back end. But at the time that I'm recording this, shiny Nimble still hasn't been released yet in Pokemon GO. And the few trainers that were able to get this shiny still have it in their account today, which is kind of insane, and really cool to have an unreleased shiny. Talk about trade value. One of the funnier stories in today's video happened back in a Trainer Tips video in August of 2018. When completing a raid with an employee from Niantic, Nick asked,
"Did you catch a shiny Wingull this morning?"
Was it released?
For like 45 minutes.
Which was met with a nervous laugh and a side eye by Michael. This was because shiny Wingull, which was set to be released later that week, went live in the wild for a quick 45 minutes on accident. Not only that, but all of the spawns of this upcoming event happened in the wild on accident. The event, the Yokosuka Safari Zone event, which included new shinies, newer Generation 3 Pokemon, and the one and only brand new shiny Wingull. And lucky players who were logged in and in Japan at the time that this happened were able to hunt this unreleased shinies and catch it. And my question to you is, were you lucky enough to catch any of the unreleased Pokemon talked about in today's video? Because I unfortunately was not. But what I did do was make these other YouTube videos that you see on screen. Make sure to click them, because they're better than this one, I promise. See you in there.